Hello, welcome to Values, Virtues, Ethics and Morality. I am Mangela Pillay, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you today Sister Denise, who has been practicing Rajyoga Meditation with the Brahma Kumaris for over 40 years. Today's topic is entitled Human Suffering. And during the course of the show, we have asked that you, the listener, take a look at your own value system, at your own conscience, at your own life, and ask whether the person that you are on the inside matches the person that people see on the outside. We have found that most people would like to do the right thing or have the intention in any given situation to do the right thing. However, they do find that they tend to act against their own conscience. And Sister Denise is curious as to why this is so. Sister Denise, thank you so much for joining us today. A very, very warm welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
So let us talk about human suffering. We see such a large amount of suffering and such shocking depths and lows of suffering. From a spiritual perspective, what has brought humanity to its current condition?
Well, there are many things involved, and I think when human suffering reaches a maximum, as it has in so many areas, we would say that the world has become a living hell for many, many people. And this is a great tragedy.
So if we are to look at how is it that spirituality can take people out of it, or, okay, before I get to that question, we look at people's value standards and their ethics. I would say that suffering comes to those who have a personal code of ethics, as well as to people who don't have a code of ethics. Why is this the case? Is it not the case that your own sense of your own value system should protect you against suffering?
Well, there are two things. One is pain, one is suffering.
Yeah.
Pain is mandatory, suffering is optional. But in order for you to not suffer, you have to be able to bear your pain. And of course, people can't bear their pain, and most pain is unbearable anyway. And partly that is because people are not strong. If you have great spiritual strength, then you have a capacity to endure pain that you really don't have if you haven't developed your spirituality. So spirituality is tremendously helpful at this present time when everybody has to bear a lot of pain. There's one thing that nobody can really escape from, and that is that over the course of many, many centuries, the human soul, the human society has gradually lost purity, has lost power, and it's this erosion of the strength of all the souls in the world which makes a person have to bear pain, because when the essential qualities of the soul start to fade, then that gap, that empty space is filled with negativity.
On a previous show, you mentioned the law of karma, and I would like to know what impact that has on the aspect of human suffering, and more so because every time I switch on the news, it seems like things are getting progressively worse. Violence is escalating, and despite the so many people, good people, trying to do as much as they can to obliterate human suffering, things are getting worse.
It's not just only the law of karma that's operating, it's this progressive loss of human qualities that is contributing. People are so weak that even a small thing is experienced as a very big mountain of suffering on someone's head or in someone's heart. So the ability to endure hardship is really not much there. And that has made things really worse. Because as I said before, pain will be there. There is pain at this time. Karmic accounts that have been accumulated over many, many centuries are all sort of coming up for payment. So we're at a very critical time in terms of human pain. And then the way in which you handle your pain, the intensity of your suffering, has everything to do with what kind of person you are. So there may be, what you were saying, good people experiencing bad things, and bad people experiencing bad things, but the good people, that means the people who are having plenty of principles, ethics, qualities, they will, because of that, they will have accumulated an ability to endure pain, and the amount of pain that they may have to endure may be relatively less because it's very connected with their karma. And karma is so complicated, and people do, at the same time, they'll do good things on this side and then they'll do really bad things over here. Part of it is connected with compartmentalization. A person at home is a really loving father, mother, whatever, and then at work there's something else. And they don't have a doorway between the two sides of themselves. So each part is completely segregated from the other part. And so they're like, it's almost a kind of schizophrenia, two completely different people. We see many examples of that.
Okay, so somebody finds themselves in a position of excruciating physical pain. How does one use one's spiritual practice to face that? It's actual physical, excruciating, intolerable pain.
Those who can handle that are people who over many, many years have accumulated their spiritual power. But you can't just start doing that at the time when you're in excruciating physical pain, because it takes a long time to build it up. And so, I would always say to people that there's so many things that are coming to test people, very severe trials, that as far as possible from now, start building up your resilience, because you are going to need it.
Okay. And Sister Denise, we have suffering on various levels, okay? People suffer physically, financially, relationship-wise especially, and mental suffering. There's suffering that just occurs inside somebody's mind that's not even actually visible on the outside. What causes suffering on all of those levels? Is it because the person has done something to earn? Is all pain earned? Is all suffering earned or deserved?
There are two ways in which you can cause pain to happen. One thing is that you do something harmful to someone, and the other is someone does something harmful to you. Because when you take sorrow from someone, that is also a sin. When you give sorrow to someone, that is also a sin. So one of the things that spirituality says is, do not take it when people want to give you sorrow. That makes a huge difference. When a person is doing something bad, to someone, harming them mentally, physically, financially, or whatever, the law of karma will give you an equal and opposite return. So if you're beating someone, someone will beat you. If you're harming someone financially, something's going to happen, you will be harmed financially. So that's really an eye for an eye, tit for tat. This law of karma operates in that way. Now, with people who are exposed to what's happening at the moment very much, because there's so many wars going on, there's a lot of people who are experiencing post-traumatic stress syndrome as a result of having been in wars and seen stuff, you see. That doesn't go away very easily. You've seen barbarities, atrocities, you've had to participate in them. It won't let you go, you see. And this is a very, very difficult situation because it's the state that puts you in that situation. And so the state bears a responsibility. And then who is the state? Well, there are people who give orders for certain things to happen. It becomes very, very complicated. But another way of looking at it is to say that, well, the state of the world has really moved away from perhaps at one time it was more like heaven, but right now, for most people, it's pretty much a living hell. And that is because of the time that we are in. We're in extraordinary times. We are in times where everything is basically crumbling. Civilization as we know it is getting eroded, and all of the horrors associated with that are beginning to appear. And this is why, more than at any other time, what a person needs is to be able to get through it. And no one is exempt, you see. So as much as you make yourself strong, as much as you make yourself close to God, to that extent, you have all the help you need to get through with the least amount of difficulty. So this is what is recommended. Make yourself strong, make yourself near to God, become courageous, and you will be able to navigate this period of great difficulty that humanity is facing.
So Denise, you mentioned the period of time now being hell. For a lot of people across the globe, irrespective of their religious beliefs, hell is a place. And you just said something interesting. You said hell is a time.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's a time
more.
and a place.
Okay, but the place is here.
Well, it's not that there's somewhere down below that's hell and somewhere up above
with
that's
fires
heaven.
and people with tridents. It's not.
In fact, all of the scenes that are described as hell in different scriptures and so on, you will find those very same scenes in war zones, in torture chambers. I don't know how many millions of people are being tortured as we speak, but there's quite a lot. And there are people being tortured in their homes. I've heard it said that there is no single family on earth where at least one person in that family is experiencing excruciating suffering. Which could be from an illness, could be from domestic violence, could be from mental illness, could be from difficulties with money or social something. But everyone on earth, every family on earth, something's going on of that nature.
Okay.
That's heavy.
Yeah, it is quite heavy. So hell is a time. That's actually quite interesting. That's an entirely different take on it. So so we're aware of the suffering that has become a reality for a lot of people, and you are saying that the answer to the alleviation thereof is one's connection with God. Now, when you are struggling, then how do you take help from God at that time? Because you're all over the place up here. Okay, it's almost that you need the medicine, but you can't even get yourself to the doctor. How do you do that? Because if your mind is helter-skelter, how do you focus on God and take power from Him
Well, what happens, some people who know how to focus on God and take power, they will do that. But, the majority of people, it's just a desperate turning to God, which happens when everything else fails. And they will get some alleviation. But I think also what the community of spiritually minded people has as an obligation is that all of the the energy from God that you develop, that you accumulate, well, you have to be a conduit and you have to spread it to those who can't just draw it that easily, you see, because that becomes a responsibility. If you can, then you have to share it. You have to put it out in the atmosphere.
Okay. So it requires from an individual to actually make the effort to invite God into his space?
Well, yes. And I think that there's relatively speaking, there's a minority of people who have been building that up in their life for a long time. And if you are in a formal spiritual practice, it'll be very systematic. There are some people who have an informal relationship with God, and there's many, many different ways. But the bottom line is, if you're able to draw light, to draw power from God, then you become also like a relay station. It comes and it goes out.
Yeah. Sister Denise, coming back to the law of karma, which you just explained is intrinsically or intricately linked with human suffering, the act and the consequence, there's time in between the two, is it not?
Yes.
Okay, because that is what causes question marks in the minds of a lot of people. Because you can have a good person who would be continuing along the path of his life, having not done anything overtly wrong, who is become the victim of a heinous crime, okay, or a innocent little baby would be harmed, and it wouldn't make sense to anybody. So that deed would have been committed at some when?
Well, it could be in a previous life or several lives ago, because sooner or later, you see, all the actions between people have to be equalized. And so sometimes there are very terrible things that happen all of a sudden out of the blue. And someone who knows about the law of karma will say, well, it could be that this is a result of some karma in the past, something unknown, but it has to have a cause. It can't be just random.
Okay, so there's nothing in life that happens by accident. There are accidents are not accidents.
Well, on one level, it is that there is a cause, but on another level, the amount of negative action is increasing. So when a person is experiencing the equalizing of a negative karma and they don't see it, they don't accept it, then they're going to do something negative in revenge, and that's the thing that will escalate it. It'll keep getting worse and worse and worse. Okay. So I think once we know the laws of karma, and if something bad happens to me, then I will restrain myself from the intuitive, instinctive, gut feeling of I've got to get equal, I've got to get even, because it may be that I've just got even, or somebody else has just got even. Do you see what I mean?
Yes. Okay. So if something was done to me, maybe that was the balancing of the scales.
Yes. But if I don't see it, then I'm going to do something, and then that's going to cause another equalizing to happen. This is how it escalates.
So the last question I have for you is, how does one ensure that you're not creating further pain for yourself? I think that is a spiritually intelligent question to ask, from what I gathered from everything that you've said in today's show, and also the lesson on the law of karma. How do I stop creating more pain?
There's a number of methods. One is let go, let go, let go of anything in the past. And the other is hand everything over to God. Your worries, your anxieties, people make themselves sick with worry, which doesn't make any difference to anything except it makes you sick. And things in the past that are really holding on to you, if you're unable to let go of them, then just give them to God. It's a very powerful act to actually just turn it over to God and not take it back, because that really works. And there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can write it, you can, I don't know what, lots of different ways, but give it away. And just say to yourself, okay, let me start life today. There is an expression, 1 day at a time. You can live 1 minute at a time, and let me do this minute, and then let me do the next minute. You see, these are very helpful little tactics that enable you to just put one foot in front of another and move forward. Very helpful tactics.
Mr. Denise, I see in a lot of people who are experiencing pain, trauma, suffering on various levels that one can, that it crushes their spirit. How do you ensure that that does not happen? How do you make yourself resilient on that level? Because take physical pain. It's a soul-destroying experience, figuratively speaking. How do you not become disheartened, disillusioned, everything when you face that?
There are lots of people who do, but there are those who don't. And those who don't is because they refuse to. They just will not give up. They have made a decision. And this is really the key. And sometimes even it comes as a realization that, if it's me or you who has to die, it's not going to be me.
So you have a conversation with the pain?
With the pain or with the aggressor or with whatever it is. Pain, my experience is that pain, you have to surrender to it. You see, it's fighting it that causes the trouble, because it's always going to be more powerful than you when you fight it. But when you surrender to it, it leaves you some sort of a deep insight, and then it moves away and you become, as it were, the victor. And that is a deep secret that many people just don't know, because they never get the idea that, that pain is in some way good, you see, and that resisting it is worse than the thing itself, We fight pain.
Yeah.
We have to surrender to it.
Yes, Sister Denise, we were talking about the act and the punishment being postponed. And I think that that is why people cannot see the link between the two. Because if you look at worldly definitions, you get perpetrator and victim, aggressor, etc. Those terminologies exist because we do not understand the law of cause and effect.
But also because we deny that there is anything like reincarnation. As long as you think that life starts at birth and ends at death, then when an action gets its reaction in another birth, you will never think that that's what it is. You will think it's random, you will think it's causeless, baseless, just a phenomenon that has no reason. And then your interpretation of life is that it's, short, brutal, and meaningless, which is what a lot of people have said. And this
They put it differently.
What do they say?
I cannot say it on the show.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So this is why I think that the more a person comes to terms with the realities of spiritual wisdom, spiritual laws, this is going to have to make us look at things very differently, and that when we are experiencing something that seems to have no cause, we need to say, well, there has to be a cause, because everything is logical and meaningful, and just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. And so then, how do I respond to it? First of all, I have to make myself able to manage it. Second of all, I have to really stay away from acts of revenge, because that would actually be an act of escalation rather than the perceived idea of getting even. And so it changes the game.
Okay. Yes, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to you on this subject. Sister Denise has shared with us today some extremely important insights and information, spiritual tools as to how to manage pain. It's a very interesting question to ask yourself. Do you know how to manage your own pain, or do you run away from it? And Sister Denise has shared spiritual tools by which one can face it head on. And her last statement stayed with me the most, made the strongest impact on my mind, in that when you're experiencing intense sorrow, physical pain, to say, I surrender. That's an extremely powerful message. And yes, she is right. Most people don't know this. I hope that wherever you are, wherever you may be listening to today's show, this has proven to be of some value to you in your life. I hope that you learn how to manage your karmic debts. I hope that you are able to take some solace from the fact that although you're experiencing pain on many levels, it does not make a statement about who you are as a human being, because everyone experiences pain. And I wish you strength in managing your own pain and suffering. Thank you so much, Sister Denise, for your incredible words of advice. And we hope to see you and you again soon. Thank you and goodbye.